Hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
And this week we're going to be talking about Justice Part 2 and Lovers Part 1. Before we do that, though, it would be super cool if you could take a second to like and or subscribe, depending on the platform, whatever it's called on there, if you haven't already, and to leave us a comment or a review. Leaving reviews and comments can help us get out there to more people, especially if they're positive reviews. And, if you leave us a review, we might read it on the show.
Do you have any news?
I think I technically do. Let me see. Did I write it down? Oh, I had found on Instagram this little Powerpuff Girls collection type thing. There's looks like some cardigans, some PJs, some plushies from, I think it's Snidel Home. There's some Blossom themed ones, some Bubbles themed ones, some Buttercup themed ones. So there's some slippers, a necklace, stuff like that.
Yeah, those were cute. They're on our social media, right?
Yeah, yes. I posted those on Facebook. So if you go to my Buttercup page on Facebook, you should see them on there. It'll probably be a few weeks before this comes out, but I posted them yesterday as of when we're recording. It might be a few weeks when you hear this episode. But anyways.
Okay, do you want me to start Justice Part 2?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hopefully this all makes sense. Okay, Inyaba contemplates killing Polnareff, but has to hide Whole Horse's body, plus is worried about the others. Polnareff is cluelessly looking for her, calling out for her, so she pretends she had a fall. While he is distracted, she uses her stand to drag Whole Horse's body under a couch. Polnareff asks if she runs the place alone and keeps bringing up her having a son that could help her. She finally says her son died while she seethes inside about Polnareff having killed her son. Then Polnareff says he will take care of her like a son. I'm not sure if he just meant while they were there.
That's what I assumed.
Missed maybe the beginning of his sentence. Whole Horse crawls out from under the couch, and while Polnareff is distracted, Inyaba comes at Polnareff with scissors and duels silver chariot. She reveals that she is Centerfold's mother and a stand user. Oh, and then she kind of opens a door, and all the people from the town who seem to be zombies come in, and she says her stand, Justice, is a fog stand that can turn the dead into an army. So I think they may have said in this part, how Whole Horse doesn't get killed is that he must have kind of put his stand away before the bullet could hit him.
Yeah, he didn't say that. So Inyaba's damn it, he did that.
Polnareff tries to run and Whole Horse calls for help. Inyaba runs after him, promising a gruesome death. All she needs to do is give him a small wound. She sprints after him, but Polnareff is about to get in the back room and hide. He discovers he's hiding in a disgusting bathroom, much to his dismay. It gets quiet, so he looks through a keyhole, and one of the zombies pierces his tongue with its tongue. These zombies have these weird tongues that can put holes in people. I don't know.
If they were Resident Evil zombies, I would buy it unquestionably, but then I'm just these are just regular people. They didn't have a virus.
Yeah. And Inyaba will now be able to control him. She threatens to drag him through the keyhole if he doesn't come out, and then is forcing him to lick the nasty toilet with a lot of tongue action on her end. So, she was gonna, kind of almost, kill him by making him kind of, squeeze through the keyhole.
Yeah.
He strains to keep from touching his tongue to the toilet when Jotaro kicks in a door and Inyaba runs to distract him. She tells Jotaro Polnareff has been in the bathroom a long time, and then leaps at him with scissors when he turns his back. He turns back around and questions her about knowing his name, and then catches her in a lie about the guest book. He reveals he knows she is a stand user. She reveals her zombies, and he brings out Star Platinum and sends several flying out a window. A baby zombie pierces Jotaro's leg with its creepy tongue. Whole Horse and Polnareff suddenly appear, and Whole Horse explains how her stand works. Star Platinum tries to wail on her stand, but it is untouchable because it is fog. JoJo says he will defeat Inyaba before she can take another breath. As she struggles to inhale, Star Platinum is revealed to be sucking the air out of the place, including sucking in the stand Justice, which is suffocating Inyaba. Next thing we know, Gramps is picking on Polnareff about licking a toilet. Jotaro bids them to go outside to see that the hotel was surrounded by a graveyard. Inyaba had used the fog of her stand to make the place look like a town. Jotaro has Inyaba tied up and wants to bring her along so they can get information out of her. Whole Horse steals their car and says they should kill her now. And that's the end of the episode.
I think my favorite part was when Polnareff was trying to, helpful with her, and then he's massaging her, and he's like, wow, you're really tense. And the whole time she's just thinking about how she wants to murder.
Yeah, he was really...
He's so fucking oblivious.
Clueless. It's kind of funny, the running gag with him with the disgusting bathrooms or whatever. It's kind of like she almost knew his fear.
Yeah.
I don't know. Her thing could have maybe went on a little bit longer. I guess if Whole Horse hadn't showed up, this could have been almost over 2 episodes. Her kind of catering to them as a bed and breakfast owner or whatever, and having weird shit happen with zombies or something. But
yeah, I feel like it could have been drawn out a little more, though it is technically already a 2-parter, but it could have been more interesting if there had been some more details other than just Polnareff finds out there's zombies because he wandered off because he's always wandering off and going to the bathroom.
Yeah. They didn't even get to sleep there, I guess is my point. She set up this whole town and the Creek Bee Hotel just for them. I was just wondering what she was gonna serve them for dinner, and just I kind of just wanted to see the whole thing play out, and maybe they didn't figure it out until I don't know, the next morning or something.
Yeah, that could have been fun.
It was kind of alarming, she just had to put a scratch on him or whatever. I was sort of thinking they probably all have some sort of wounds already.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like it had to come from her directly, because the zombies were able to put the holes and it worked too. I mean, I know she was directing them to do it, but
maybe it has to be a fresh wound or something. Maybe beat up already from all their other encounters with stand users, but maybe that's had some time to heal over the days or hours.
I'm just thinking there's all kinds of just open crevices in people's bodies though too. She could just, it's just a fog. You could just go up your nose or in, your ear or down your throat or something. I don't know.
Your pores.
Yeah. She could have been even more subtle about it, just she's all crazy with them scissors, but she could just have used a pin and scratched them, or just poked a hole and been or with her nails, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to scratch you, and then that would have been it. Her stand just was powerful in a way. I mean, I guess kind of that big ship. Mm-hmm. Being able to make that big of a mirage or whatever you want to call it, an entire town.
Yeah.
Although I guess it wasn't super convincing, because they kind of were freaked out by how everyone was acting. And
so my trivia for this episode, I already talked about Justice is a Stand, the tarot card that it's based on. I probably should have known this already. I found it by complete accident, but the dude who does the voice of Whole Horse is Roger L. Jackson, who is the voice of MoJo JoJo and the Powerhouse Crew.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder people, if there is any more overlap like that between the two shows.
Oh, yeah.
So I will have to look into that more later, but I found that out by complete accident. I'm how did I not know that already?
That's funny. Gramps with his, oh no, oh God. I know you said Whole Horse, but
the range he has between Whole Horse, MoJo, JoJo, and Ghostface. None of them sound that similar.
I want to listen to Whole Horse. We might see him again.
Yeah, he didn't die, so.
I'm thinking I would try to get as far away as possible because he's escaped.
Yeah, but he still wants to go back to Dio for some reason. I would just have noped out of completely that whole thing. I'd be like, fuck this.
As long as he doesn't have one of them flesh buds, I'd get on a plane and be on the other side of the world.
Absolutely. Sorry, I keep yawning. Our next episode is, of course, The Lovers Part 2. I will say for my section...
part 1, isn't it?
Oh, part 1, yes, sorry. When I get to I did once again forget to write down the tarot description from my little booklet that comes with my cards, so I will be reading from those again, but I will get to that later. So we start off with the Joestar crew. They've driven to the capital of Pakistan, Karachi, in the new horse-drawn carriage with Inyaba in tow. She is tied up and unconscious in the back seat. Joseph stops to haggle with the guy over doner kebabs. The guy wants 1,000 yen for 5 doner kebabs, but Joseph gets him down to 425 eventually. The guy thinks to himself that he normally sells 5 for 150 yen. When Joseph gets back to the carriage, Inyaba is wide awake. Joseph drops the bag of food in astonishment. Inyaba, however, is suddenly horrified and starts talking to the doner kebab salesman and pleading for him to go away, that she has always been loyal to Lord Dio. And she, explodes with these worm-like tendrils that partially destroy the carriage. The salesman takes off his disguise and reveals himself to be Dan of Steel, which, of course, his original name was Steely Dan, named after the band Steely Dan. And that he is a stand user sent by Dio to take Inyaba out before she can spill the beans about Dio's stand. Polnareff is horrified that Dio would do this to his own people and goes to check on her. Calculin that says that the tendrils are not from a stand, that they're actually corporeal. Inyaba insists that Lord Dio would never hurt her, that he'd never plant a flesh bud in her. She says Dio is her only reason for living, and they trusted each other wholeheartedly. I almost said wholeheartedly, because I saw whole Polnareff on the next line. Polnareff chips off a piece of the tendrils with silver chariot, and the piece falls to the ground and burns in the sun. Joseph realizes that the flesh bud is made of Dio's own cells. Dan says he grew the flesh bud inside of her himself. He wants to kill her, not control her with it, however. Joseph begs her to tell him about Dio's stand, telling her that Dio wasn't the man she thought he was, but Inyaba is loyal to the end and dies without telling the Joestar crew about Dio's stand. Dan gloats about killing her and how powerful Dio's evil charm is. The Joestar crew are disgusted with Dan and plan to fight him 4-on-1 when Dan suddenly is launched backwards by Jotaro with the glass door behind him, and Joseph also goes backwards too in the opposite direction. Dan says that Jotaro's impatience almost killed Joseph and that they'll never find his stand. And they're all just like, what the hell just happened here? Then he pays a kid on the street to hit him with his broom, and Joseph reacts as though he was the one who was injured, saying it felt like he'd broken his leg. Dan reveals that his stand is tiny and crawled into Joseph's brain through his ear. He plans to use it to hurt Joseph if he's hurt as well, thus keeping the others from pummeling him. Dan reveals that the stand took another of Dio's flesh buds into Joseph's brain, and he'll meet the same fate as Inyaba. The kid with the broom from earlier hits Dan in the leg again, which hurts Joseph, but Dan strikes the kid for hitting him again, and the kid runs away. Dan says his stand is the world's weakest stand, unable to even move a single strand of hair, but that he doesn't need physical strength to get the job done. Dan says that if he gets injured and banged up by an attack, it will hurt Joseph much more than it hurts him. He gloats that the flesh bud will kill Joseph in 10 minutes. This pisses Jotaro off, so he goes to grab Dan to kick his ass, but ends up choking Joseph as well. Dan wants to take a rock to himself to further demonstrate how much hurting him will hurt Gramps, but Jotaro makes him drop it. He wants to kill Dan with Star Platinum, Kakyoin and Polnareff restrain him. Dan hits Jotaro with the big-ass rock instead, and gloats that he'll kill Jotaro with the flesh button next. Joseph is horrified to see Jotaro getting beaten up instead, and he, Kakyoin, and Polnareff run the other way to get some distance between Joseph and Dan. Dan says that the distance won't do jack shit. He decides to antagonize Jotaro, knowing that he can't hurt him, and steals his wallet and fancy watch. Joseph reveals that he wasn't just running away, that he was trying to find a TV to use purple on to see inside his head. The stand is indeed in there, much to his horror. Kakyoin plans to use his stand to enter Joseph's ear canal and go after Dan's stand, the Lovers. Polnareff is initially skeptical, but shrinks his stand down too to enter a blood vessel. Dan forces Jotaro to be a human bridge instead of just using the regular bridge like a normal person. Jotaro refuses at first, which makes Dan kick a fire hydrant, hurting Joseph's leg as well. Jotaro finally lays down across the canal, and Dan walks on his back, calling Jotaro a rather sturdy bridge and jumping up and down on his back. He steps on Jotaro's hand as he crosses to further rub it in. Kakyoin says the lovers must be in Joseph's thalamus, but in order for his and Polnareff's stands to enter a blood vessel, they'll need to tear open said blood vessel. Polnareff says it's exhausting to use their energy to keep their stand so small, then cuts into Joseph's blood vessel. Joseph freaks out and says he doesn't feel so well, and then we see Dan humming and gloating to himself while Jotaro silently seethes behind him. To be continued.
I don't know if we described Inyaba's stand, but it kind of looked like a skull with a crown on.
Yeah.
And then this one of Dan's, I don't know, it looked like almost like a gold metallic bug.
Yeah.
Like a robot bug or something.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of a crab a little bit too, like a bug or a crab.
I'm not sure how this guy knew that they would stop for kebabs, but I don't know. Gramps is always like crazy about that shit.
Yeah, always having to take in the local cuisine.
It was kind of like rough how Inyaba went out. Like, I'm thinking they could have maybe killed her a little quicker.
Perhaps.
She was like torture.
Yeah, so all the nasty tendrils, like, I don't know if I properly described it, but the tendrils are basically like coming out of like her nose and her eyes and all that shit.
Yeah. They were kind of horrified, and I mean, even though she was like trying to, I guess, kill them before, kind of felt like, no one should be killed that way.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what to think of the Dan of Steel guy. Like, just kind of like the Inyaba stuff was a little crazy, and then we're already on to another stand user, and he's just like, I don't know, very sure of himself, and then just, he knows like Jotaro can't do anything to him, so he's just like
being the biggest asshole possible.
Trying to get his goat.
Yeah.
And yeah, just being like a turd to him.
He kind of reminds me of the Yellow Temperance guy a little bit, personality-wise. I feel like they'd be bros.
Yeah. He probably would be upset, too, like if his face got messed up or something.
Yeah.
So I guess Gramps can kind of focus what his stand sees on the TV. It just seemed like before, like with the Polaroids, I don't know. It was just like sort of like whatever the stand wanted to show him or something. I wasn't quite sure if he had control of it or not, but he was like looking inside his brain and stuff purposefully.
Yeah.
I don't think he blew up them TVs either. Didn't he usually like destroy the TV or the camera?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time a TV got destroyed is because, like, Dio made it blow up, but, like, with the camera, he, like, always destroys it. So I don't know if maybe the TV is slightly more sturdy, or if, more sturdy than the camera, I mean.
And they didn't really explain where they got the carriage and horse from.
Just kind of, we just are left to assume they must have gotten it after they got their Jeep stolen by.
Because they were just in the middle of nowhere, basically.
Yeah.
In a graveyard. Maybe that's how Inyaba got there.
Maybe.
And they took her carriage or something.
I feel like I've called one of the stands in the past, like the why are you hitting yourself stand, but this one also is kind of like that, so I feel like there's a lot of stands that just kind of cause injury to the other person who's like attacking the stand user.
Just sort of a weird stand, because like he does kind of have to harm himself.
Yeah.
In order to harm the other person. I think it did say something about, I don't know, it was much greater on the other person.
Yeah.
The effect. So when he got hit with the broom, Gramps felt like he'd broken his leg. So, I mean, that kid was pretty small. I don't think he hit him that hard, but...
Yeah.
And then at one point, Jotaro had told him that he was going to kill him so fast that he couldn't feel anything. Because whatever he felt, Gramps would feel, but he's like, I'll just do it real quick.
That's very teenage boy of him.
I don't know if that would have worked or not. Maybe they could have turned Whole Horse to their side and he could have got him quick with a bullet or something.
Yeah. Like, a lot of the other times, they'll beat up a former enemy and then they'll become their friend, but not really with Whole Horse. They're just like, and then he runs away.
Yeah, he's run off a couple of times. I mean, I guess we probably already said it, but I'm not sure why Inyaba blamed. I don't know. She didn't really listen to him very well, but it wasn't his fault.
No. If anything, Cinderfold got too damn cocky.
So I don't know if we'll see Whole Horse. I mean, I'm not loving how Abdul went down, so I would like to see something happen to him, I guess, but
yeah.
I'm just thinking if I were him, I'd just go lay low for a really long time.
Absolutely. I'd lay low until all this bullshit was over. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about like some of the meanings from the Lover's card. I will just read straight from Labyrinthos here. It's like labyrinthos.co. I use it a lot if I feel like there's not adequate meanings for my tarot cards in the booklet. So the Lovers can represent love, unions, partnerships, relationships, choices, romance, balance, unity. So it's basically just about relationships in general. It doesn't always have to be romantic, though the card kind of depicts like a man and a woman. They're like holding hands, and then above them there's like this like angel like watching them or something. So it's kind of like I had said previously, it's kind of like the opposite of what the art is like on the devil card. So I think on my deck that I have, it's just kind of, that one, they're not really so much like the opposites of each other. It's just kind of like the Lover's cards. It's just like two people canoodling. But anyways, it can mean also harmony, attractiveness, and affection in a relationship. The trust and unity that the lovers have gives each of them confidence and strength, empowering the other. The bond that they have created is very strong, and they can indicate that the two are joined in marriage. Or just like, another kind of like relationship. Another meaning behind the Lover's card is the concept of choice, a choice between things that are opposing and mutually exclusive. This could be a dilemma that you need to think about carefully and make the best decision for your situation. And then I talked about the opposite meaning of the Empress last time when I forgot to write stuff down. So I'll talk about it with the Lovers too. The reversed Lovers could mean disharmony, balance, conflict, detachment, bad choices, and indecision. So I'm just not sure if either the upright or the reversed really makes me go, yes, I see why the little crab guy is called the Lovers. But there's a little insight about what the card's supposed to be about.
Yeah, I don't, like we had discussed before we started recording, like it's, it doesn't have two heads. It's not like he has two stands. I'm assuming there's not like a girlfriend or something or a boyfriend where there's another stand user. I mean, we don't know at this point, but you probably know, but we're not spoiling ahead. But why it's even called the Lovers if there's just one little gold metallic bug thingy.
There's just the one little guy. It's not even like there's a stand later on. I will just say that stand it's kind of also a gun stand like Whole Horse has, but it's like the bullets themselves are kind of part of the stand, and they're all like little guys. It's not even like that either.
Like if it was controlling, like it had a Cupid thing going on, or it's like making someone attracted to someone else, like to their doom or something. But
yeah, so I just feel like it kind of doesn't make sense, and it's another one where I'm just kind of like, Rocky's just like, I don't know what to call this one. It could be the Lovers, I guess. So I guess that we're gonna end our conversation about these episodes here. Tune in next time when we talk about the Lovers Part 2 and Sun, which you can, of course, watch those episodes ahead of time before we put the episode out so that you're not spoiled by us and you just get spoiled the normal way by watching the show. course, I just ask again that if you haven't already followed the show to do that. It'll tell you when we get new episodes coming out. And if you haven't done this either, leave a review or comment, depending on what platform you're listening on. It could really help push out the show to other people if it gets more engagement and more reviews, especially if they're positive reviews. And, we just love to get the feedback. And, if you leave us a review, we might read it on the show.
We also have another podcast, What We Pod in the Shadows, where we're discussing what we do in the shadows, and we're currently on season 2. If you'd like us to listen to us discuss a comedy about vampires who live in Staten Island, check us out there.
I just get up to some absolute wacky shit. It's great if you want to hear us talk more about vampires who are not Dio or the Pillar Men. So yeah, I guess all that's left to be said is until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.